we're supposed to sit here on this side of the dais and to ranking member Lee's point, see a party that has voted against women's access to abortion, voted against our right, the Lilly-led Better Equal Pay Act, voted against the Violence Against Women Act, voted against our right to have access to contraception, and also doesn't even vote for equal funding, equitable funding in women's sports. And I'm supposed to believe that this is who's looking out for my best interests? I think not.
AOC is upsetting Republicans again with offensive points about how their actions and their policies don't match up with their declarations about supporting women. I'm surprised GOP members didn't applaud each of the stances that she highlighted, because when they're discussing women, they're bold about how much more they claim to know.
It's a loss. It's a denial of transformational change. It's a decision for most people. I'm not talking about specifics, but for most people, done out of fear. But we no longer have to pretend it's anything more than that. We don't have to have political discussions about rights. Abortion is based on a fear that is greater than the actual reality. And if you don't believe me, talk to somebody who had a baby and then think about how they were before they had the baby. That's called a transformational change, right? The woman becomes a different woman than she was before when abortion was an option. And that drives the fear. Once you see that, you can't unsee it, right? It's the best anti-abortion argument out there, and no one is making it. People do have their reasons for abortions. You mentioned a very, very tragic and ugly one. But people make decisions out of their careers or maybe their relationship. The person they're dating isn't the person they want to marry. But underneath all that is a fear of this transformational change. And if you admit that, that might actually move you to maybe a different stance than you have now.
Fear of transformational change. He acknowledged some reasons some people may have, but they all fall under his conclusions, because he knows better than the people that can get pregnant. Notice he didn't mention childhood rape, incest, domestic violence, health of mother and baby, probably because it would make him look bad to call someone's desire to avoid those things a fear of transformational change. It puts all the blame on the pregnant person, with no mention of how many potential fathers have a fear of that transformational change and force abortions on their wives or mistresses. But let's not forget, the only reason conservatives are fighting like hell to recharacterize what goes into someone's decision is because their unpopular stance is a loser politically.
And when Democrats say that Republicans are the party that's going to restrict your right to an abortion, the majority still thinks that abortion should be accessible, even with some restrictions. How do you change the messaging for next year? Obviously, this is going to remain a big issue because Democrats win on this. How do you adjust the messaging so that Republicans can win?
It's going to be the candidates individually taking this on. Candidates have got to get comfortable going on TV and saying, listen, I'm proud to be pro-life. I'm proud to be the party of pro-life. But post-Roe, we need to come to consensus. We should have the exceptions for rape, life, and incest, but we should also have humane, common sense limitations. That when a baby feels pain, when a baby can actually feel its life being taken from them, that should be a consensus we should have. And Democrats won't meet me there. They're on the extreme on this. We're willing to come to a consensus.
Republicans' ironclad, Jesus-endorsed principle on a woman's right to choose has wilted ever since they've been kicked around in elections over their prized victory against Roe versus Wade. Many were vehement against that consensus argument regarding rape, life, and incest. It was getting their asses kicked that made them reconsider. It doesn't have much to do with protecting Americans. And as Ronna McDaniel hoped for, one candidate has found his answer on this. But polling shows that the party really doesn't care.
One of the things that I also want to pick up on that we see voters responding to thus far is abortion. It's been a galvanizing issue in favor of Democrats. We've seen that a few times now. Are you concerned that in a head-to-head that will help to buoy the president himself as he runs for re-election? And how does a Republican candidate like yourself take the issue to the national stage?
Margaret, I've been consistent on this. I believe the conservative, smart approach is to let the states make these decisions. And that's what I think they should do. And that's why I said I wouldn't sign a 6-week national abortion ban, as Governor DeSantis, and now just recently in Iowa, Governor Haley has said she would sign a 6-week ban. I don't think you can say one thing in one place and something else in another. You need to be consistent. For 50 years, Republicans have argued that the Supreme Court took this decision away from the people. I think this belongs in the hands of the people of each individual state. We see a great Democratic, small d, event going on right now across the country in places like Michigan and Kansas and Ohio, where people are voting. Let's let the American people vote in their individual states and decide what they want this policy to be.